3 bone-chilling true stories that haunt the deep woods forever. You won't believe what happens. The deep woods whispered secrets that would chill you to the bone. Every rustle, every snap of a twig felt like a warning. Lost, repeat visitors tell tales of shadows lurking just beyond the trees, watching, waiting. But it wasn't just paranoia. Strange lights danced among the branches, flickering like a reflection of sanity distorted. Locals spoke in hushed tones about a creature moving silently through the underbrush, its eyes gleaming like freshly polished orbs in the deep, choking darkness where no light could reach. The first strange element that caught attention was the story of a young girl named Mia. She disappeared one fateful day on a school trip, swallowed by the woods without a trace. Days turned into weeks, and the search parties returned empty-handed except for whispers. Whispers of her laughter echoing at dusk, calling out to her friends who could never find her. But those who ventured deep into the heart of the forest claimed they heard her sweet voice fading echoes that sent shivers down their spines like icy fingers grappling for breath. As days turned into endless nights, something felt wrong. A local hunter returning from the woods holed up in a bar reported seeing strange carvings on the trees. Symbols that seemed to scratch at the very nature of reality, as if the forest itself was trying to communicate. Had Mia become part of the woodland itself? The thought twisted itself around the hearts of those listening, making their chests tighten with dread. They exchanged worried glances, voices trembling with conspiracy. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. But while Mia's tale hung like a fog in the air, another story loomed larger than life, a chilling tale of a couple vanishing during a moonlit camping trip. The deeper one went into the woods, the more the forest betrayed its true intentions. Something was hungry. They set up camp, laughter blending with the crackling of the fire. But when they opened their eyes in the morning, only the smoldering embers remained. No sign, nothing but an unsettling stillness. Hearts thudded in the silence. What snatched them away? Then, the woods sighed, and it was as if the trees surrounded them in their haunted embrace, tightening like new strings of yarn. Everyone was left wondering, would anyone return to tell the tale, or would they join the chorus of lost souls? The air was electric with anticipation, and fear crept back into the hearts of the onlookers. How many more secrets lay hidden beneath the thicket, waiting to unravel? What happens next could change everything. The sun dipped low, casting elongated shadows through the ancient trees, as whispers of the lost echoed in the growing darkness. Each gust of wind seemed to carry Mia's laughter further into the depths, teasing the memories of those who sought her. Time felt different here, as if the woods had the power to warp it. Loneliness suffocated them, breathing life into lingering doubts. Did they ever really disappear, or were they merely hidden, becoming part of this dark tapestry? As word spread through town about the couple's disappearance, more brave souls dared to tread into the blackened woods, seeking answers or perhaps closure. A group of friends, thrill seekers seeking a good scare, decided it was time to discover the truth. Laughter bubbled between them, an adrenaline-fueled joke shielded against the lurking dread. Let us camp at the spot where they vanished. What's the worst that could happen? Sarah shouted with gusto, but the nervous glances exchanged behind her back told a different story. They hiked deeper into the heart of the forest, every footstep crunching softly beneath them. It was a sanctuary of silence, replaced by the rhythm of their breath, a reminder that reality was closing in, tightening around them like a vice. By the time they set up camp, the sun had long surrendered to darkness, and their laughter began to wane like the dying fire. As night draped itself over the forest, the air thickened, swallowing their breath. Ghostly whispers wound through the trees, more pronounced than they had anticipated. "Do you hear that?" Mark paused, his voice barely above a whisper. The others fell silent, eyes darting nervously around their camp. Familiar laughter danced on the wind before it evaporated into nothingness. But it wasn't just sounds that provoked their fear. Shadows stretched and twisted, playing tricks on their minds. Sarah, feeling increasingly uneasy, grabbed her flashlight. It flickered to life, illuminating the space around them as she scanned the woods, seeking reassurance only to find towering trees that loomed like watchful giants. As she directed the beam further into the dark, she spotted something. It was a tree, twisted and gnarled. Deep carvings lined its bark, symbols that looked eerily familiar. Those are the same ones the hunter mentioned. Mark's voice trembled, memories of the bar and the fearful exchange rushing back to him. Guys, what if she wasn't alone? Sarah's voice wavered, her gut churning. Realization dawned that what they had chosen to explore wasn't just a ghost story. It was an unfolding realization of a world where the lost were never truly gone. Suddenly, a chilling howl cut through their thoughts, a cry that sent ice coursing through their veins. It wasn't just an echo. Something, or someone, was reaching for them from the depths of the night. What was that? Tara muttered, her eyes wide with panic. Stay close, Mark instructed, his deep breath staving off rising fear. They huddled, a circle of bravery as dread tangled around them. With each passing moment, the shadows grew bolder, moving closer, as the realization settled in a fear that gripped their hearts. The woods were alive. What had they awakened in their quest for the truth? That question hung in the air, a lingering shadow waiting to unveil its secrets, as they collectively held their breaths, waiting for whatever threat loomed just beyond sight. As the sun set completely, they understood one painfully clear truth: they might not be the last to disappear. The howl echoed again, longer, more mournful, piercing through their tight circle of fear like a knife. Was it an animal? Or had something more sinister awakened with the setting sun? Sarah's grip tightened on the flashlight, the beam trembling in her shaking hands. She shone it into the dark, daring the night to reveal what lurked within its depths. Let us get out of here, Tara whispered, her voice quavering as if it could dissolve into the fog that threatened to swallow them whole. Uncertainty twisted in Mark's gut, but adrenaline pulsed through him. No, we need to know what is happening, he argued, trying to sound brave. Though his heart raced, the air thickened like glue, pressing down around them, tightening with every strained breath. Suddenly, from behind the gnarled tree, something shifted. A shadow, deeper than the night itself, slides effortlessly between the trunks, always just out of reach of the flashlight's beam. A rush of collective breath filled the air as dread wrapped its fingers around their throats. Mark stepped forward against his better judgment. I'll check it out. No. Sarah bolted, her voice cracking. Don't. We don't know what that is. But he was already breaking away, drawn by curiosity and terror in equal measure. Stay here, Mark ordered, his back to them as he moved cautiously to the sinister tree. Each step felt like walking on a precipice, the ground beneath him almost conspiratorial as it groaned. He paused, drawn to the carved symbols etched into the bark, shapes his mind struggled to comprehend, yet felt frighteningly familiar. As he reached out to touch the tree, a sudden rustle in the underbrush sent surges of panic through him. Mark, Tara shrieked, her voice raw in the hush of the forest. Shoo, you'll draw its attention, he hissed, heart thundering in his chest as he turned slowly. But it was too late. A figure lurked behind a cluster of trees, its form indistinct under the cloak of night, but undeniably large. It barely resembled anything human, moving with an unnatural grace, like a predator that had perfected the art of stealth. Mark. Sarah's cry fractured the air, panic making it sharp and shrill. The thing stepped forward, revealing a silhouette that sent a fresh wave of terror coursing through them. Eyes glinted in the darkness, shining with a mysterious light as it regarded them, seemingly amused by their fear. Without thinking, Mark bolted back to the group, stumbling over roots that clawed at his feet. Go. We have to run. They all scrambled, breaking into a chaotic flight, the dense woods turning into a labyrinth of terror. Every snap of a twig made Sarah's heart race faster. The howl rose again, closer this time, resonating through the air, sending chills down their spines. The branches clawed at them as they fled, leaves whispering secrets they did not want to hear. Shadowy tendrils stretched alongside them, brushing against their skin, and Sarah felt a breath that wasn't hers against her neck. Panic rose like bile in her throat. "Camp!" Mark shouted, gesturing wildly. They stumbled back to their tent, but found it had been dismantled, their supplies scattered like breadcrumbs, as if something had intentionally laid a trap. Adrenaline surged again, pounding in her ears. Over there. Tara pointed toward the embers of the fire, now merely glowing remnants of warmth. But as they turned, the shadows shifted, coalescing just at the edge of the light, watching. "It knows we're here," Mark gasped, doubling back to the fire. They huddled close, trying to convince themselves that fire could protect them from what lurked outside its light. As the night deepened, their hearts beat in synchronized terror, waiting for the inevitable confrontation. The figure they had glimpsed now loomed in their minds, the representation of everything they did not want to confront. Just when they thought they could hold on, the whispers began anew, this time clearer, forming dreadful words that chilled them deeper than fear ever could. "Join us," the wind hissed, wrapping around them like a vice, and as another howl echoed through the woods, a chilling, familiar, and unnatural sound, they realized that whatever this thing was, it wasn't finished with them yet. What awaited them in the void of the woods? Would they become part of the whispers, or find a way out before it consumed them completely? The cold sweat trickled down Mark's brow as they huddled closer, the small flames flicker failing to chase the looming dread away. Every gust of wind whispered through the trees a chorus of voices beyond their comprehension. The shadows that gathered around them pulsed with malevolent energy, each heartbeat matching the rhythm of their fear. "Should we scream for help?" Tara's voice quavered, her eyes darting around, searching the dark perimeter for salvation. "What good would that do?" Sarah snapped, her own voice shaking. "They won't come. No one ever does." Mark felt the weight of the forest press down around them, the silence now thick with expectation. They weren't alone in this place. They never had been. He clenched his fists, fighting against the rising tide of hopelessness. "We need to find a way out now." He stood, scanning their surroundings, the remnants of their campsite swallowing him whole with anxiety. Before anyone could protest, Mark turned and dashed towards the tree line, his heart pounding like thunder. The darkness was welcoming, but his instincts screamed at him to go back. "Mark, wait," Sarah called, but he was already plunging forward, fueled by panic and adrenaline. Branches seemed to claw at his skin, and the darkness shrouded him like a blanket. Shadows wriggled playfully in his peripheral vision, slipping just out of his sight like slippery fish. The howls faded, but silence stung like an unanswered question, leaving a bitter taste in his mouth. Suddenly, he stumbled into a clearing, the air thicker here, heavy with a strange, malevolent aroma, as though the very earth was pulsing beneath his feet. In the middle, a large stone throne stood, warped and ancient, vine-choked, and etched with the same symbols he had seen earlier. The earth here felt alive, and Mark's feet seemed to sink slightly with every step. Then, a shriek pierced the stillness, and he wheeled around, bracing himself. "Sarah! Tara!" he called out, his voice unexpectedly swallowed by the darkness. Instinct told him to retreat, but a force pulled him closer to the throne. As he approached, the air flickered with pale blue light, illuminating something in the shadows, a cloth, ragged and torn, with deep red stains marking its fabric. His gut twisted at the discovery. It looked strikingly human. Was it a warning? In that moment of clarity, he remembered stories whispered among locals at the tavern about this woods, tales of people never returning after crossing certain boundaries. Skulls in trees, shadows that took form, and warnings etched in bark. With renewed dread, he fumbled for the flashlight, his hands trembling. Focusing the beam back towards the forest, he discerned movement. Eyes glowing and hungry pierced through the shadowy veil. They were closing in. "Mark!" The panicked cry broke through the stillness, and he whipped around in time to see Sarah bursting into the clearing, eyes wild, lungs gasping. Behind her emerged Tara, panting heavily, her face ashen. "We have to go?" The moment of relief vanished when they turned back towards the shadows. Figures began to materialize, dark and formless like smoke, shaping into the haunting silhouettes of lost souls. They shuffled forward, mouths agape, letting loose, unearthly, dissonant wails that sent collapses of terror coursing through their bodies. The whispers intensified, echoing through the air. "Join us. It reverberated around them, taunting, inviting, sickening. Heart racing, Mark grabbed Sarah and Tara, dragging them through the clearing. The ground shook, roots reaching up as if the forest itself sought to keep them trapped. They ran, stumbling, breathless, the howls behind them growing louder, more insistent, and they could feel the malignant force pouring itself into their backs. With every step, they felt it, something reaching out, its cold fingers slowly encroaching on their minds and bodies. Time warped around them, and with each pulse of fear, they felt the pull of the woods tightening like a noose. "Go left," Tara shouted, veering off the path. They darted toward the only familiar sight, the campsite. But as they neared, Mark's heart sank. The fire was extinguished, reduced to an unsuspecting pad of ash and debris. They heard it once more, a guttural roar that sounded almost human, sending a tremor through the ground. The shadows inched closer, hungry for their despair, and Mark knew they had reached a fork in the road of fate too dire to comprehend. As they stumbled toward their only semblance of safety, a horrifying realization struck. The forest was changing around them, revealing paths they hadn't seen before. Whispers tugged at their ears, promising escape, but leading to uncertainty. "Which way?" Sarah cried, panic balancing on the edge of her voice. Mark locked eyes with Tara, whose expression mirrored his dread. "We don't have time for that. We have to pick one." And as disorientation swirled around them, Mark's breath froze in his throat. He couldn't shake the thought. What if they were never meant to leave at all? With desperation clawing at them, they stood at the precipice of choice as shadows loomed ever closer. Would they choose the path of light or darkness as the faint whisper urged, "Join us"? Before they could decide, the ground beneath them trembled. The darkness stirred, and the echoes of the past merged with the present, leaving them standing on the edge of doom. What awaited them on the threshold between salvation and surrender? A surge of panic pushed Mark forward. "Left!" he shouted, and without waiting for further discussion, he yanked Sarah and Tara down the path that twisted into an unseen darkness. The whispers escalated, an unholy chorus crescendoing around them. Join us," echoed in their minds, intertwining with their raced thoughts. The thundering steps of their pursuers grew closer, shadows weaving between the trees like dark smoke. The moonlight barely penetrated the thick canopy above, leaving them at the mercy of the forest's whims. Mark's heart raced, pounding against his rib cage with each desperate stride. Suddenly, Sarah tripped on a root, her body hitting the ground with a hard thud. Desperately, Mark turned back, extending his hand. "Get up. We have to go." His voice broke, raw with urgency. Tara was already beside her, pulling Sarah back to her feet. Just as they regrouped, a figure leapt from the depths of the trees. Mark felt a chill sweep through him, recognizing now that these weren't just phantoms. They were the very essence of the woods, entities that sought life to fuel their dark existence. "Run!" Tara cried, pushing them forward. They sprinted, the oppressive earth gripping at their ankles as if trying to drag them down. Behind, the shadows lumbered, growing in size and intensity, as if feeding off their fear. The heavy scent of decay filled the air, suffocating and sinister, urging them to move faster. They burst into another clearing, a patch of moonlight illuminating the ground ahead. But instead of relief, dread bloomed in Mark's chest. There, in the center of the clearing, stood a grotesque tree. Its bark was blackened, twisted, and gnarled, its branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, eager to trap anything that drew near. Nestled among its roots were bones, human bones, bleached white and ominous against the damp earth. "What is that?" Sarah whispered, trembling. Her eyes shone with terror as she took a shuffling step back. Mark's voice barely rose above a whisper. "I think it's part of what we're running from." At the sight of the bones, the ground quaked beneath them, the whispers now a maelstrom of screams clawing at their sanity. The sacrifice echoed hauntingly, filling the night. "Which way now?" Tara asked, panic-stricken, her mind racing for answers. "There's no choice," said Mark, his voice hardening with desperation. "This path leads to whatever that is, but the other way might just bring us back into the darkness." Splitting their attention, they turned, weighing the threat of the unknown against the grotesque reality behind them. Just then, from the direction of the howling voices, blazing eyes cut through the shadows, hungry and relentless. They were out of time. Back, Mark commanded, moving towards the grotesque tree. We'll have to climb. Climb? Tara's voice rose in disbelief as they approached the menacing roots. There's no other way. He grabbed a gnarled limb, hoisting himself up, pushing branches aside to create a foothold for Sarah and Tara. Reluctantly, they followed. The towering height provided some quick solace from the unseen horror lurking below, but Mark could feel their breaths quickening, desperation painting their cheeks blood red. Then they heard it. A low growl rumbling from the shadows near the base of the tree. His heart dropped like a stone. They've found us. A darkness unfolded below, silhouettes shifting ominously. The figures swarmed, blending in with the very shadows of night, pulsing with a vitality that shrouded the clearing in an unnatural gloom. Mark's gut twisted. What will we do if they climb? Sarah's eyes darted, wide with fear. Mark swallowed hard. We won't let them. We just need a little time. But as the shadows reached up, tendrils of smoke wrapping around the tree, the question hung thick in the air. How long could they stay hidden? As they mounted higher, Mark could feel the darkness clawing at their souls, a whisper of despair rising around them. You can't escape it, taunted, like a lover offering sweet poison. The fear loomed heavy, shifting with them, tightening its grip. They were outnumbered and outmatched, racing against an unseen clock. Would they be just another lost echo living in these woods forever? And then, beyond the rustling branches, a flicker of light glimmered through the canopy. Look, Tara gasped. Is it a way out? Sarah's hopes surged. But could it be a mirage? What if it leads back to the very heart of the nightmare they had stumbled into? With the shadows writhing below, the time came to decide. Would they leap towards the light or remain entrapped in the clutches of darkness that threatened to consume them whole? The flickering light pulsed like a heartbeat, both inviting and taunting. Relief washed over Mark, even as doubt grappled with his instincts. We need to get to that light, he urged, the words slipping from his lips like a desperate prayer. Tara frowned, her voice thick with uncertainty. But what if that's where they want us to go? A guttural growl echoed from below, sending a chill up Sarah's spine. They might already know we're here, she murmured, her eyes scanning the dancing shadows. Each figure seemed more menacing than the last, their forms twisting and stretching as they reached up, creating a wall of darkness. Mark grasped the branch, digging his fingers into the splintered wood for support. We can't stay. The longer we linger, the more we risk being trapped. His heart hammered as he stared down at the writhing darkness beneath. Each tendril of smoke seemed to pulse with malevolent intent, hinting at dark memories of those who had ventured here before them. Were they merely the latest in a long line of victims? On three. Then, he decided, glancing at his friends. 1, 2, 3. Now. They leapt, bodies crashing down through the unknown, hands reaching for the light. The moment they hit the ground, the light swallowed them whole, illuminating their surroundings with an ethereal glow. They landed in a small grove, a spread of shimmering flowers glowing softly around them. Beautiful, yet unsettling. The petals seemed to whisper, weaving an intoxicating spell that beckoned them closer. Where are we? Tara wondered, awestruck yet wary, her breath catching in her throat. Mark shook his head, scanning the grove. I don't know, but it feels different. The air was still, the ominous growl now replaced by an eerie silence that curled around them, stifling. As they pushed forward, the light dimmed, revealing a series of worn stones leading deeper into the grove. Each stone bore strange inscriptions, glowing with the same light that had pulled them here. Looks like ancient writing, Sarah breathed, her fingers brushing against the smooth surface. What does it say? Mark leaned in closer, deciphering the words. It talks of an offering a pact between the woods and those who lived here. They believed the light protected them. Protected them from what? Tara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The unease in her tone echoed Mark's own fears. Suddenly, the grove darkened, the colors of the flowers fading as shadows expanded around them. The whispering came back, swirling like the wind, growing louder, drowning out their thoughts. Join us, run. Mark shouted, instinct taking over. They dashed towards the light, pushing past the choking darkness threatening to envelop them once again. But the path narrowed, the stones shifting beneath their feet, as if the earth itself conspired to trap them. We have to go back, Sarah cried, panic seeping into her words. This isn't the way out. Mark gritted his teeth, steeling himself against the panic crawling up his spine. No, we have to find a way to break the spell. There's something here we need to understand. He desperately sought the flicker of light, hoping it would lead them to safety, but doubt gnawed at him like a hungry beast. Look, Tara pointed ahead. Through the darkening shadows, another light flickered, its glow ominous and beckoning. Could that be a way out, or was it another trap designed to lure them in? Just behind them, the growl erupted again, primal and raw, pushing them forward. This way, Mark yelled, shoving aside the creeping terror, but as they raced toward the mysterious light, a chilling realization struck him. What if each decision only led them deeper into the heart of this waking nightmare? And what if embracing the darkness was the only way to survive? Could they risk it all to discover the truth that lay hidden deep within the woods? Or would that final choice seal their fates forever? The air thickened as they bolted toward the flickering light. Each step felt like running through molasses, the shadows clawing at their backs, hungry to pull them into the abyss. Tara's heart raced, her breaths quick and shallow, filled with panic. Mark, what if it's a trap? Mark chanced a glance over his shoulder. The growl was closer, furious, and relentless. It was a beast unlike any they had ever encountered. We have to take that risk, he cried back, determination surging within him. They inched closer, the light ahead pulsing like a beacon. Sarah felt beads of sweat trickle down her spine as the whispers grew louder, ominous chants calling to them. We can't let it get us, she yelled, trying to drown out the whispers clawing at her mind. They want us. They'll take us. As they burst through the last cluster of vines, the characters on the stones shimmered with a new intensity, the glow illuminating their frantic faces. They skidded to a halt in front of an ancient altar, its surface engraved with markings that felt alive. Each symbol sparked with an eerie energy, resonating through them, reverberating in their very bones. Tara approached the altar, entranced. What is this place? She murmured, her fingers brushing against the inscriptions. They felt warm, almost welcoming, beckoning her in a low whisper. I can hear them, they're speaking to me, don't listen, Mark shouted, grabbing her arm. With every passing second, he could sense the shadows converging, tightening their hold around them. We can't stay here. But it was too late. The ground began to tremble beneath them, the altar radiating a light more blinding than before. Tara gasped, her eyes rolling back as though she were being possessed by the ancient energy. It wants to tell me fight it, Mark urged, panic lacing his voice. He stepped forward, shaking her shoulders. Tara, come back. You're losing control. Her face contorted, the flicker of awareness fading, replaced with a cold, detached grin. Join us, she echoed, the voices melding with her own. Mark's chest tightened, fear gripping him like a vice. He glanced back at Sarah, whose eyes were wide with terror. What do? We can't just leave her. The growl erupted again, closer, fiercer, shattering their indecision. We have to. Sarah screamed. Whatever that thing is, it's going to take her. Mark's heart raced. He couldn't abandon Tara, but holding onto her now felt like grasping smoke. Desperation clawed at him as he felt the darkness close in. Tara, you have to fight it. You're stronger than this. Yes, right, Sarah cried, stepping closer. Remember who you are? You're not just part of this forest. We came here together. With an intense shudder, Tara seemed to snap back to reality, her eyes wide and terrified. The grip of the light tightened around her, the energy cackling as if angered. Mark, she gasped. I can't. Mark lunged forward, wrapping his arms around her. The brightness intensified, threatening to burn them alive. Hold on tight. We're getting out. The shadows writhed, a wave of despair crashing over them as the growl morphed into a cacophony of voices, desperate wails urging them to succumb. Join us in the chaos. They tore away from the altar, the embrace of the light still pulling them. They sprinted back the way they'd come, but the world around them twisted and shifted. The stones were no longer a path. They morphed into a labyrinth of terror, each step feeling like a betrayal. Then, a bone-chilling scream erupted from behind them, sending chills racing across their skin. It was the darkness, alive and voracious, coming for them with wrath. Mark's dread ballooned. They couldn't escape it. Not unless they found a way to confront the true power of the ancient pact binding the woods. We need to discover what they want. We need to understand. As the shadows clawed at their heels, they plunged deeper into the heart of darkness, knowing the only way out was to face the truth hidden within these haunted woods. But what dark truth awaited them? They plunged into the depths of the forest, hurtling through tangled underbrush that clawed at their clothes and skin. Every breath felt heavy, saturated with dread, as if the very air conspired against them. The growl behind them morphed into a menacing chorus, echoing their panic. It was as if the woods had come alive, a sentient entity feeding off their terror. "Mark, what do we do?" Tara's voice trembled, clutching his arm like a lifeline. The energy from the altar seemed to still thrum within her, pulling in all directions as if trying to reclaim what it had almost taken. "We find somewhere safe. We need to regroup," he shouted, scanning the shadowy lines of trees for any semblance of shelter. Sarah pointed to a gnarled tree ahead, its trunk wide and hollowed out. "There. We can hide there." They dashed to the tree, breathless and frantic, diving into the cavernous space just as the growl erupted again, vibrating through the ground beneath them. Inside, darkness enveloped them like a thick fog, muffling their breaths. The sound of their hearts thudded in unison, drowning out the cries of the shadows lurking outside. "Should we keep running?" Tara panted, the fear etched on her face. Mark shook his head, his mind racing. "We can't just run without a plan. We need to figure out what's happening." He tucked his arms around Tara and Sarah, pulling them close as if their shared warmth could fend off the encroaching cold of despair. "Those voices," Tara murmured, pressing her face into Mark's shoulder. "They wanted me." It felt so powerful, like it was calling me home. "What home?" Sarah snapped, shaking with frustration. "This isn't home. It's a nightmare." Mark's mind raced back to the altar. What if it isn't just a force trying to capture us? What if we can turn this around? Maybe we could learn its secrets, find out what it really wants. His own words surprised him. Could he really face that light again? But then a chilling realization crept in. What if it wants us to join it? What if those voices were right? The growl outside faded, replaced by an eerie silence that seemed to weigh heavily on them. The quiet felt wrong, like the calm before a storm, urging them to revel in the safety of this cramped space. Suddenly, the shadows outside began to shift. Tendrils of darkness found their way around the entrance of the hollow tree, probing and searching intently. Mark held his breath. What if it found them here? "Mark," Tara whispered, her voice shaking with fear, "what if it actually needs one of us?" Before he could respond, the shadows twisted and coiled tighter, as if forming more recognizable shapes. Screams that echoed from the nightmare before returned, distant but clear. Shades of past victims? Were they trying to warn them or lure them? Mark's heart raced. He didn't want to ponder that. "Listen carefully," he said, his voice a hoarse whisper. "We have to decide. Are we going to fight this, or will we give in?" As the shadows grew thicker, Sarah's breaths quickened, and she choked back a sob. "We can't give in. Not to this." We need a sudden burst of light blinded them through the carved entrance. It pulsed rhythmically, and the whispers surged back, drawing them in with an intensity that was impossible to ignore. Join us," echoed louder than ever, surrounding them in a maelstrom of chaos. Before Mark could pull Tara and Sarah back, the light surged, spilling into the hollow and sending waves of heat rolling over them. Terror seized him. They were not safe yet, he screamed. "We have to," but the words died in his throat as Tara's expression shifted. The light in her eyes flared again, igniting the connection with the altar. She stepped forward, her hands reaching out toward the brilliance. "No, Tara." The pulsing energy enveloped her, and in an instant, she was gone, swallowed by the light that threatened to devour everything. "What have you done?" Mark shouted, his voice breaking. Sarah's eyes widened in horror, a mixture of disbelief and despair. "We have to go after her. We can't lose her." But as they stepped back into the clearing, they realized the altar had disappeared, taking Tara into the depths of where the shadows thrived. The forest twisted around them, and they stood at a treacherous crossroads, knowing that leaving without understanding this ancient pact could mean losing more than just their friend. What dark shape would rise from this twisted pact, and what sacrifices would they have to make to save Tara? The forest whispered again, ominously promising revelation. or ruin. Mark and Sarah stood in the widening clearing, hearts racing, breathless with the weight of their reality. The forest loomed, thick and dark, waiting like a predator. Tara had vanished into that blinding light as if she never existed, and now the only sound was the low rustle of leaves, whispering secrets that clung to their skin like a chill they couldn't shake. "We can't just stand here." Sarah's voice sliced through the silence, snapping Mark from his stupor. "What if that light takes us too? We have to move." "Where?" he replied, frustration tightening his chest. "The altar is gone. We have no idea how to find her." But deep down, something nagged at him, the connection that Tara had felt. It had to mean something. "Maybe if we can retrace our steps," he began. "We can." A scream erupted from the depths of the forest, sharp and haunting. It sent icy fingers crawling down Mark's spine, freezing his thoughts. "Did you hear that?" he breathed, his pulse quickening. "Of course I heard that," Sarah stammered, eyes wide, scanning their surroundings as if the source of the scream would leap out at any moment. "That sounded like Tara," Mark finished, a fresh wave of terror crashing over him. In an instant, they were back on the move, weaving through the trees, driven by their instincts. The forest was alive now, shadows creeping and shifting in their periphery. Every snap of a twig felt like an omen. Every gust of wind seemed to carry whispers of the damned. They pressed on, pushing past their panic to find her. "Tara!" they cried at intervals, voices rising and falling against the thick silence that enveloped them. But each call echoed back, mocking and empty. It was as if the forest itself absorbed their cries, offering nothing but a gnawing uncertainty. Suddenly, they stumbled into a small clearing where a shadowy figure stood, a silhouette against the dim light. Mark's heart pounded in his chest as fear curdled in his gut. It moved, just a twitch, but it was enough to send them lunging backward. "Who's there?" Mark shouted, voice shaking. The figure turned slowly, and as if lit from within, its face broke into a smile that chilled the air around them. It was not a solid body, but a shifting mass of black and gray, flickering like a flame barely held together. "I see you." The entity's voice was silky, a seductive whisper that seemed to flutter through the branches. "You seek your friend, but you must decide, what are you willing to sacrifice for her?" "What do you mean?" Sarah cried, stepping protectively in front of Mark. "What do you want from us?" "I want nothing." The figure laughed, but there was a cruel edge to it. "Only to see how deeply love can extend, how far you're willing to reach into the darkness." Mark's heart raced with a mix of fear and anger. "We'll do anything. Just tell us how to get her back." The entity tilted its head, the smile widening. "Anything. Be careful what you wish for, dear mortals. True sacrifice demands more than you realize." "What are you talking about?" Just bring her back," Sarah shouted, urgency spilling over. With a swift motion, the figure raised a translucent hand, and the ground beneath them began to ripple, as if a pool of water stirred. From its depths, a vision emerged: Tara, trapped in a sphere of light, her face twisted in fear, her cries muffled by an invisible barrier. "No," Mark shouted, reaching out, but the vision away. "You can't do this to her. One of you must join her," the figure murmured, the darkness of its form swirling further. "Only then can she return, and you can escape this fate." Mark's mind raced, thoughts flailing wildly. What had they awakened? It was all becoming too real. He met Sarah's eyes, desperation flooding through them both. They faced an impossible choice. Together, Sarah whispered, inching closer. "We'll figure this out together." But the darkness began to close in, whispering warnings, promises of power, of choice, of control. Mark felt himself teetering on the edge, pulled in multiple directions, each voice echoing what they wanted, what it would cost. "Tara!" he screamed, the sound ripping through the air. And in that moment, they both realized. A choice must be made, and the haunting weight of that decision pressed down on them like the thickest fog shadows clawed at their resolve. A deep rumble pulsed beneath the forest, as if it stirred in anticipation of the offering yet to come. What would they sacrifice to save their friend? And when the time came, would it be enough? Mark took a step forward, ready to confront the darkness, ready to challenge the price. But in that moment, he felt the ground tremble, and new shapes began to emerge from between the trees, pale and glistening in the dim light. "Mark, look out!" Sarah shouted, her voice soaked in fear. Were they allies or more enemies, rising from the depths of despair? As their silhouettes grew ever closer, the impending doom overshadowed all hope. And with every heartbeat, the forest whispered to them of their fate. Would they ever find Tara again? Would it be too late to stop what they had unleashed? With time running out, they had no choice but to confront the darkness ahead. The darkness thickened around them, but Mark could hear Tara's muffled cries echoing through the void. "We need to make a choice," he shouted to Sarah, the weight of desperation lacing his words with urgency. The shadowy figure loomed in front of them, almost curious, awaiting their decision. "Anything to get her back," Sarah yelled, fists clenched, her features strained with fear and determination. The figure grinned, mocking their anguish. "You say anything, yet you stand together. Will you still say that when the price is revealed?" Mark looked at Sarah, their shared resolve flickering against the encroaching dark. "We are not leaving without her," he affirmed, unwilling to let the shadows claim Tara completely. He turned back to the entity. "What do we need to do?" "Sacrifice. It can be but a piece of your soul, or something far more. Consider wisely what you are willing to pay," whispered the shadow thing, its voice wrapping around them like a velvet noose, tightening as it spoke. Every nerve in Mark's body flared with alarm. He felt physically repulsed by the offer, but hardly had a choice left. "What if we can break the pact?" he shouted defiantly. The entity's laughter rippled through the trees, a sound that sent chills down his spine. "Foolish child. Light thrives on darkness, and your friend has already drawn from that well. The pact cannot be broken, only balanced." It gestured to the forest, to the shifting shadows beckoning them forth, hands outstretched in a haunting invitation. Tara's figure flickered again within the light, fear etched into her features, her eyes pleading through the bubble that confined her. "Mark, help me," she cried, her voice a spear stabbing through the otherworldly haze. "What do you want?" Mark screamed, uncertainty clawing at him. "How do I save her?" The shadow swirled, eyes gleaming with the secrets of ages. "One of you must step into the light. The sacrifice must be a willing heart, a desire strong enough to weave the thread of this tapestry anew." "I want to leave you," Sarah cried, eyes frantically scanning Mark's face for answers. "We could both go. Together." "No," Mark shouted. Panic threatened to drown him. "If we both step forward, maybe it'll destroy whatever is holding Tara." The figure only cackled. "Together or alone, the choice is your burden to bear." Time constricted, each second threatening to unravel them entirely. Mark drew in a sharp breath. His mind raced, swirling with options. Would stepping into the light ensure Tara's safety? Or would it seal them all into this forest of horrors? The whispers grew louder, urging him. Embrace the light. Join the pact. Let it renew. The howls of the lost swarmed around them, scratching at their sanity. In that gnawing moment, he felt a horrific understanding. The forest wouldn't let them choose unless they surrendered to its twisted design. The choice, once so clear, now blurred into shades of doubt. Would losing a part of himself save Tara? "Mark, don't," Sarah begged, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Whatever it's promising isn't worth it." But the pulse coursing through him grew stronger as he stepped forward, heart racing. "I'll save you," he shouted to Tara, reaching for the light. The shadows danced at his feet, grappling with anguish as he ventured closer to the glow. "Mark, no." Sarah's scream pierced through the darkness. He looked back at her, and in that fleeting moment, he saw both panic and tenderness, a lifetime of friendship condensed into that one heartbeat. He turned back toward the light, feeling its warmth begin to weave around him. The whispers erupted into anguished wails as if torn by the weight of his sacrifice. As the brightness enveloped him, he let go of every fear, releasing the burden of what stood ahead. Everything shifted, and suddenly he was by Tara's side. She stood in the ethereal light, pressing her palm against the barrier, eyes wide with awe and disbelief. "You came for me," she whispered. "We're not done yet," he breathed, trying to hold on to the reality around him. The shadows loomed closer, wailing as they clawed at the edges of the glow. Mark could feel their proximity, a reminder of the deal he had struck. "What is happening?" Tara asked, the fear creeping into her voice. "They're furious," he shouted, gripping her shoulders. "They want to let us go easy." Outside the light, the entity glided back, watching intently, almost amused. You chose sacrifice, and the woods relish your pain. Give in, let it consume you. No. Mark pushed back against the terrible urge swallowing his heart. I won't. The shadows surged, wrapping around them, and Mark felt Tara's grip tighten. I won't let go, she yelled, determination igniting fierceness in her gaze. With an overwhelming surge of energy, the forest quaked, and a fire ignited within Mark's chest. He remembered their shared laughter, their talks about bravery, friendship. With that clarity fueling him, he believed fiercely in their survival, the light of friendship brighter than any darkness that sought to ensnare them. Then Tara's hand squeezed his. Together, she shouted, her voice like a rallying cry against the storm of shadow closing in on them. Together, he echoed, clutching her tight as the light flared around them. That light began to pulse more violently, pushing against the shadows. Together, together. Their voices intertwined, echoing against the trembling wood, as the forest erupted in turbulent fury. With a final scream that boiled with defiance, they felt the light lift them, pulling them away from the shadows, the darkness shrieking as it collapsed on itself. In a brilliant flash, they were thrust out of the woods and onto the forest floor, tangled in underbrush with the sun pouring down. Sobbing, they clung to one another, feeling real warmth embrace them after the chill of the night. And as they lay there, breathing heavily, the woods fell silent, the whispers extinguished, the darkness banished. They had won. Together, they rose and brushed themselves off. They swore never to return to the woods that had nearly consumed them. The memory of toxicity and sacrifice would linger, but they stood stronger, connected by a choice made out of love and resilience. And as they walked back towards safety, the sun dipped low in the sky, casting golden rays on their path. They realized that their true sacrifice was not in a piece of their souls, but in the profound understanding of the strength they found in each other. But the shadows remained vigilant, still whispering their secrets deep within the woods, waiting for new souls with curious hearts. You need to subscribe now to catch the next story that's just around the corner. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support for these chilling tales. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this conclusion. And flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about what happens now. It's time to speak your mind.